Hey guys, Camden here, back for another week of insights from Steelman's Tribe to teach you guys some of the things that we've been talking about inside of the tribe. New setup over here. Moved over to my chalkboard. The folks who know me means I had to erase my to-do list off the chalkboard in order to shoot this video. So you're welcome in advance, folks. But all jokes aside, moving over here, setting up new mic, new setup over here. Going to be bringing these videos each week, going through the rest of the year. So really excited for that, and going to keep making some tweaks to things and trying to get out a better product for everyone watching these. So today I want to talk about sustainable productivity. So if you've seen my video before talking about Freebird effect, that's more in the mindset space of things, right? How can I sustain my work even when things aren't working, when I got a really long way to go before I reach my goals? How do I keep working with that, right? Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit more different, which is in the actual productivity and efficiency of your work, right? People talk about efficiency all the time now, right? With AI and things, there's all this talk about use this tool and you can get back your time. This can make your workday more efficient. You can eliminate this from your workday by delegating it to AI. We can do all these things to become more efficient. So that's the first piece we want to talk about. Got to get oriented here with a new chalkboard and all that. The first thing we want to talk about is increasing your efficiency, right? Increasing efficiency. So what happens is, naturally, if you're a lifelong learner, which if you're watching this video, then you probably are a lifelong learner. But if you're a lifelong learner, you're somebody who's always looking to grow, you have that growth mindset, then you're always looking to a way to get a little bit more efficient. You're always wondering, how can I get better at this? How can I get faster at this, right? So when you're going through that, trying to find different ways to be efficient, there's naturally the things that I mentioned earlier as far as, AI tools. That's all the rage right now. People tell you that things can completely change your life and give you all sorts of productivity. Now, we know that there's a bit of a mixed review with that, right? A lot of the things that we thought the AI could step in and take certain jobs, things aren't happening. There's other things that it's way more efficient at and can help us be more efficient. So there's all sorts of give and take on that. But we can agree that there are tools out there that can make your time, make your workday a little bit more efficient, help you to cut some time out of your day, whatever that is, right? So it's important to understand that there are things out there like that. Now, there's also, of course, just the old, tips and tricks and kind of things. We were talking about time management earlier in the week with Steelman Tribe. I have a whole video on time management talking about different techniques there. But then also, during Steelman Tribe, we're talking about different AI tools that people use, Copilot and those kind of things. Personally, we are a Boodle family over here. Shout out to Sean Old, episode 123 of the Camden Otis show, back before it was 10x your team. And, talking about what Boodle AI is doing and how that can, make things more efficient. But anyway, talking about increasing efficiency, what does that really look like? Whether it's a trick you get from, one of our coaching videos, a tip you get from a buddy of yours, or an AI tool that's going to shave a little bit of time out of your workday. You have that increased efficiency, but now what does that mean? What this does is it creates white space in your calendar, right? And, you've heard us say before, white space is a great thing to have, great thing for creativity, but also nature hates a vacuum. Your calendar has a way of filling in that white space, right? So what happens is you get your increased efficiency, okay? Your let's say 8-hour workday, to make it nice and easy, 8-hour workday, you're now getting done in 7 hours, okay? You just added an hour to your schedule, right? We'll write that up here. So you just added in 1 hour, okay? So you added in 1 hour based on your current workload. And this gets into the productivity paradox of productivity, right? So you increased your efficiency, did a great job. You shaved off a whole hour of your workday with what you were currently doing. Now, depending on the job you're doing, that might be a good thing, right? For some people, that might mean I get to go home a little bit early in the day, right? But I want to talk more as folks with that entrepreneurial mindset, right? We have more things to do. It's not just a clock in, clock out, get this thing done, I'm done, right? When we have finished the day and we have a little bit extra time, we start thinking, how can I get ahead? What are the things that I can do to be more effective, right? And what happens here, and this is the productivity paradox, is as you get more productive, as you get more efficient, let me rephrase that. So as you get more efficient, you start to get your work done in less time. So you have more time in your day available for things, that white space that we talked about, right? Now, what tends to happen is that gets filled with more work. So the work winds up creating more work as you're going through it, right? In that same amount of time, you shaved off some of that time. You had a little bit of extra space. So you started filling it in, getting ahead of things, maybe working on something you've been meaning to get to, but just didn't quite have time for a while, right? You wind up spending time on those things, getting ahead of the schedule, whatever it is. So now you have taken that increased efficiency and you've turned it into increased productivity, right? I am now outputting more during this, okay? So we have this increase of efficiency turns into our increase in productivity, right? So increase of productivity. And you'll love my handwriting. You will learn. I don't know. Let me know if I'm better or worse than Otis. We have our increased productivity. So let's say, and I should have done a better, should have done better math. We'll switch it from the 8-hour example to the 10-hour example to make this next math a little bit easier, right? So that 10-hour work day you're doing, you shave things down. You're now getting things done in 9 hours, right? Well, now that 10% that you shaved off there, when it comes into now increasing your productivity, you have that 10% boost in productivity, right? So now you are 10% more efficient. You're getting extra, 10% more productive. You're getting extra things done around the office, right? You're getting ahead of things, getting into next week's work, whatever it is, right? You've taken that efficiency and turned it into productivity. That's a good thing. You just got more done. It's a great thing to, show your boss, hey, look, I'm being more productive here. I'm making an impact for this business, right? Otis always jokes, I'm sorry, I got to say this real quick. He always jokes about getting distracted by squirrels. I got a bird landing out there on one of my trees, and that is going to be a new distraction for me. Folks of the podcast know that I can get distracted from the other window, but gosh, it might be a little worse here. But so anyway, so we have that increased productivity. That's a great thing. It allows you to get more done. So if you're a solopreneur, you're running your business, you're leading a team, I can now get more things done. I can help my team. I can serve more people. That's a great thing, right? Now, the question is, when does it stop? Because what happens is we start to feed into a cycle here. And what tends to happen is we get a little bit more efficient. And so we fill our work day with things, right? That productivity creates more work for us, right? So we start filling our work day with more things, helping other people with their projects, whatever it is, right? And so what happens is, and this is that paradox of productivity, is that as we get more productive, we get more work. It's really hard to actually have less work on your calendar, on your day, because what happens is you tend to fill it. You fill that white space. Now, we can be proactive and fill that white space with good things too. We'll get to that in a little bit. But that's what tends to happen, is we tend to get stuck in this kind of productivity loop where we're trying to get more efficient, trying to get better at our job. And as we get better, we create more opportunities for ourselves to get more work done, right? And so even though it can be a really effective thing to help you to get ahead, the truth is a lot of the time there is no ahead, right? There's not really an end state to most of these things we're talking about. If I finish one project, I'll even use the example of this video, right? I finished shooting this video that I've been prepping on this week. Okay, well, guess what? Now I'm prepping for next week. Now I'm editing this video and getting ready to put it out. So even if I get done early with this, hey, guess what? I'm going to fill it in with the next job, right? We're going to keep going down that list because there's not necessarily an end state of what I'm working on. Everything is contributing to creating a legacy of leaders and helping people to be better leaders, better men in their lives. So if everything's contributing to that, I have more things that I can do that contribute in that direction, right? So even though I may shave off an hour of my day, get 10% more efficient with it, I'm going to find those things to do to help people with it, right? So even when we think we're going to get ahead, that's a kind of a logical fallacy that we run into, where we're thinking if we just get a little bit of extra work done, then we're going to get far enough ahead and things are going to feel better and I can finally relax, those kind of things. And most of the time, it's just not true. Grass isn't always greener, right? So you have to recognize that, hey, sometimes I do need to pause on these things. Maybe I don't need to fill that white space with more work, right? We've got to be a little bit more strategic about it. The other aspect that I always think is really interesting talking about sustainable productivity is this phrase that I love because it's really helpful, and I think it can also cause some problems, but it's work beats worry. Right? When we're really stressed about something, it helps to work, and not just work blindly on things. I think that can help a little bit, can be a little bit cathartic, but generally speaking, no, it's about working directly into whatever the problem is, whatever the stressor is for you. We love the phrase, the obstacle is the way, right? Going back to the Stoics. If something is stressing you out, then it'll be hard to escape that stress without addressing that root concern there, right? As you're pushing forward, you're going to keep feeling that stress. I'll use an example of, actually keep using this example of videos, right? So then I'm shooting next week's video and I'm stressed out about it the night before. I'm like, okay, I'm going to record tomorrow and something is bothering me. I'm stressed out about something. I can't sleep. Well, this is a time where for me, what I always love to do is steer into that feeling. What is it that's stressing me out? What am I so scared about with this, right? It's like, oh gosh, Camden, tomorrow you're going to turn the cameras around. You're going to move the mics over, try out a new mic actually, and you're going to record on the chalkboard. What if it goes wrong? What are all these kind of things? Well, you know what happens? If that's keeping me up at night, you know what I do? Come into the office, go in here, start prepping. Get things together, see that I can do it, right? Pour that nervous energy into something that is productive, right? Attacking whatever that stressor is. If I'm stressed out that I might not do a good job during a presentation like this video, guess what? What am I really stressed out about? Not having the right things to say, not providing enough value, stumbling over my words, all those kind of things. Guess what the solution to those are? More preparation, right? We can take that nervous energy and we can pour it into the preparation for the thing that we're working on. So that's how your work can be worrying. Because generally speaking, what happens afterwards is you feel a lot better. Because when that loop starts to open again, that anxiety loop of, oh gosh, hey, oh, I'm going to fail tomorrow because I'm not ready for it. You go, actually, I thought I wasn't ready. Then I listed out the 5 reasons I thought I wasn't ready. And then I addressed each one of those. And I've addressed them all really freaking well. And guess what now? I'm pretty ready. Even if I don't quite feel that ready, I know that I am. I can look at it. And I can check the boxes of my preparation that I laid out for myself, right? So by going through that little bit of planning process, you can remove a lot of that worry that comes with a deadline or a project coming up or anything like that. That nervous and anxious energy can be a useful tool during preparation, right? But we have to be careful with this because, like I said, there is a downside there as well. Work can beat worry. But also, if we're just doing this all over the place, like I mentioned, there can be something cathartic, right? When we don't have anything that we can do, it helps to think of something that's inside of our control, right? And that goes back to the preparation piece here. In our control, okay? And just in our, or just in control there. Skip a word, right? Make it nice and efficient. There you go. And with that extra time, I'm going to come in and talk to you guys more about this. But so, there is the negative side to this, which is I take all of that nervous energy and I just start pouring it into other things that don't necessarily move me towards my goal. If we don't zoom out and find the things that actually are productive, or the things that are actually stressing us out, whatever it is, and find that more productive path forward, then what's going to happen is you're going to burn off some of that energy and you will feel better because you burned the energy, but you're also not addressing that root concern, so that concern is still going to be there. But let me say this, that goes back to what's inside your control, right? When you're dealing with something super stressful that's outside of your control, I'll be honest, hey, sometimes it's nice to go dig a hole, fill that thing back in because it's something I know I can do. It's inside my control, right? Now, that's also something that's very hard. You get the workout, get the endorphins going, all that kind of stuff. But that's one example there, but it's really true that, you can get a cathartic response from going and doing something, even if it's not necessarily productive in the strategic picture of things, right? So there's a value there. But like I mentioned, there is a negative piece, right? If we are just kind of chasing things and we're not being intentional about that energy and how we're spending it, then we can just keep spending that energy into creating more work for ourselves. Like we said, work beats worry. Work also creates worry, like we said with that productivity paradox. So if we take all of this worry and we pour it back into work, what can happen is we create more work, right? So work may beat worry, but it also creates it for us. And so if you're not conscious about this, if you're not intentional about the way that you're spending your energy, what happens is you create that cycle and you start feeding into the worry more and more and more, and you start creating more work, and you're just going to stress yourself out and you're just going to get burnt out. And that's the key piece here. When we talk about sustainability, it's all about avoiding this next piece here, which is just burnout, right? We don't want to get burnt out. We want to be able to sustain ourselves through this journey. There's sprints in life. There's always times coming up. I can think of some guys inside of Steelman Tribe that are in some very intense sprints right now. Sprints happen, right? You might lose a job. You're like, hey, I got to really get things together over the next 2 months to make sure that I'm on track. We don't lose the house, right? Or there might be a baby on the way, and it's like, hey, I have to get everything squared away so I can help out with my wife and our new kid, right? There's all these kind of things that could come up that we have to deal with, and we have to sprint. And what that is a conscious recognition of, hey, look, there's something going on. I need to be working at a higher rate. I need to increase my efficiency and my productivity. I need to get a lot more things done, and I need to get them done by this time, right? There's a reason for that sprint. That's one key there. Do you throw out a little nugget? Don't be sprinting without a deadline. Don't sprint without knowing what you're working towards. You have to set a clear deadline to what you're sprinting with, right? Otherwise, you fall into this loop of just work creating more work, and you're just never going to actually get ahead on things, right? But in order to prevent that burnout, you have to make sure you're working in that strategic picture. And what that comes down to is life management. Okay, so we've talked about life management all the time with Tribe and Purpose and with 10X Your Team, the podcast. So, but life management, to kind of give you guys the big picture of it, it's about understanding your life as a whole, how all of your different life categories feed into each other, what value you get out of each one, and how they help all of those other ones, right? The way that I show up in one area of life is the way I show up in the rest of my life. The way I coach rugby is the way I parent, is the way I coach business leaders, and the way I go out there and garden, right? The way I do one thing is the way I do everything, okay? So recognizing that you want to manage it as a whole, not just get hyper fixated into those categories. And when we talk about burnout, that's usually what happens with people is they get stuck into a sprint. They think that they're in a sprint. They don't define when it's going to end, though, so they just keep adding more work and more work and more work. And all they're thinking about is their work. All they're thinking about is that one life category. They're not zooming out at all. Now, it's important to understand there might be something very important with that, right? You might be thinking all about work so that you can do these things in your hobbies and for your family and, give money to charity and all these kind of things. But the fact is you're not doing any of that right now. You're solely focused on work, which there's time and place for that, right? Going back to sprints. But the key to not getting burned out and preventing that burnout is just zooming out on things and spending that time, that increased productivity, and broadening it, right? So we don't want our productivity to be entirely based around work. We want to broaden our definition of productivity. And this is a little hack for entrepreneurs out there like me who, as lifelong learners, talk about the growth mindset. That means there's always something to do. I love to use the phrase, there's always work to be done on the farm, right? There's always something else that I can go do. And so it's really easy to get in this habit of always looking for the next thing, always going to the next thing. And when we do that, we can tire ourselves out. We can get into burnout there. The key here, and why I say broadening that productivity is so useful, is because now I'm not just talking about work. I'm not just trying to get things done on the farm, right? To use that example, but I'm broadening that into my other life categories. I'm trying to use that extra time, that increased productivity, and use it for my family. Use it to go get more stuff done around the house, right? Use it in order to go watch some film for rugby, whatever it is, right? Okay, and in great fashion for the fact that I'm trying out a new setup. That microphone died. You notice I have the headphones in here, so we're just going to finish with this. Luckily, I was just about done here, but the main thing that I want to hammer home is that it's important not to get fixated in that one area and use those other areas of your life, those other life categories, in order to recharge yourself to be more effective in that work area. Right? You want to use those other areas in order to be more effective there. If you just live with work and you're stuck in that sprint and you have your head down all the time, you're really, one, going to get burned out, and then two, you're going to miss out on a lot of creative options for solutions. I think that if you're stuck in one area, you miss a lot of things, right? If you zoom out and you see the big picture, you come up with more creative solutions. So it's important to have that kind of balance, right? Life management helps you to refocus and make time for the other life categories and the activities that recharge you rather than the things that just drain you. Even if they're productive, even if they're important, even if they're fulfilling your purpose, they are work and they can pull you down. So we want to find those things that build you back up and recharge you as well. And lastly, the big thing here, productivity doesn't mean that you have to have more work. Productivity can mean more family time. It can mean more hobby time, more time outside, more time in the garden, whatever it is for you. Your increased efficiency and increased productivity from that of trying to get more things done, it doesn't just have to be trying to get more work done. It can also be trying to get more things done outside of that using those whole life categories. So that's how life management helps you to be more sustainable in your productivity, increase that efficiency, be a lifelong learner, have that growth mindset, but be it smart about it too. Make sure that we're applying those things in the right area and not getting burnt out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it can help you to be a little bit more sustainable with your thinking when it comes to plugging in AI and, all of a sudden having all this extra time back in your day. What are you going to do with that white space? How are you going to protect it, and how are you going to be intentional with it? So that's a big piece there. Go to 10xyourteam.net. Check out the Steel Men Tribe if you're interested in joining, learning more about sustainable productivity and all these other things that we talk about on our calls every other week, as well as the calls with the Steel Dads and our other sub-tribes, the Hard Chargers, talking about family and productivity. What's more productive than a hard charger, right? Over there with our buddy Zach. So check that out, 10xyourteam.net. Learn more about Steel Men Tribe and come and join us. It's a lot of fun, and we get to learn a lot from each other. It's great. It's great and helps us to be more effective and more productive.